It's time again for another installment of The Basics, and the previous episode I did got me thinking about a lot of the major CCGs over the years and the issues a lot of them had with starter decks and how playable they were right out of the box. So I want to talk about some of the different CCGs and how their starter decks had issues right off the bat and what they did to fix it. So let's get started, shall we? Now, keep in mind that most of the big CCGs had growing pains right from the start. It's inevitable when you start a brand new CCG that there's going to be issues. So, starting with Magic the Gathering, anyone that played Magic right from the beginning knows that there was a problem with lands in the starter decks. There was not enough lands of any one color to have a viable deck off the start. You not only had to buy one or two starters, but you had to buy a plethora of boosters to have a big enough mana pool to get one deck going. This was remedied later in 5th and 6th edition, where the starters had more land and the boosters as well. The Star Trek CCG suffered right from the beginning. I played since it came out in 1994, and I can tell you the first starter decks had too many commons and equipment cards, not enough personnel from any one affiliation to make a viable deck, and a lot of doubles. Again, this was a game you had to start with a starter and 4 or 5 boosters, if not more. When they came out with Enhanced First Contact and Enhanced Premier like this, it got better because you had some limited edition premium cards to give you a good start, as well as 4 or 5 booster packs you could open immediately and add to your card pool. When they went through Deep Space Nine as a standalone in some respects and had the starter decks for that, it got better, although the Deep Space Nine starter deck suffered from too many useless sight cards. I hated that. By the time you got to trouble with Tribbles, not only did you have better starter decks with more varied cards, you also had pre-constructed Federation and Klingon starter decks, which were awesome off the start. You could start out of the box in this game at that point. That was huge. Plus you had the Tribbles CCG, which I'm going to touch on a later episode, that came out as well and added a new dimension and a new game. The Star Wars CCG, which was also part of the Decipher family, as was the Star Trek CCG, had the same problems as the Star Trek CCG right out of the gate. Too many doubles, too many shit cards. It took longer for them to remedy this, and they waited till the Enhanced Premier, which did the same thing as the Star Trek CCG Enhanced Premier and almost fixed that gameplay right out of the box, which was nice because I was actually playing the Star Wars CCG the first time around and was frustrated until Enhanced Premier came out, and it helped, as did a couple of the expansions. And finally, you've seen me talk about this on the previous episodes, the X-Files, the CCG, was the biggest CCG in terms of doubles and a lot of repeated worthless cards. And if you watched my previous episode, you know I've already done a full thing on that, and they never really fixed that problem. The booster packs with the 3 expansions that did come out helped somewhat, but they never fixed the starter problem. It was a huge problem. That's why the game went away quickly, and not many people play it now. So now you see why I'm always saying if you get into a CCG, you have to start with at least 1 starter deck and 4 or more boosters. I'm not trying to pick on a lot of these games. I've played all of these games, most of them for years. But as you've seen on today's show, in some cases they were fixed, even though it took a while, and in some cases not much happened and the game ended up going. And that's mainly the Star Wars CCG and the X-Files CCG that had the biggest problems that went unfixed. Which, if you're trying to put a CCG out in the market and get players to eat it up and spend money on it, does not help you. That's all for today. Have a great day, everybody.